What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Few. Today we are doing Thursdays starts and sits. We have 5 different players for each of the starts and sits categories. We're talking one quarterback, one running back, receiver, tight end, and defense. And we're just going to get right into things today, guys.
All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and start my start of the week. Matt Stafford, baby. Good old LA Rams. All right. So they're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville has actually been kind of decent against the quarterback. That's because their last 4 weeks against Buffalo, they gave up 11. Josh Allen didn't have the greatest performance. Against Indy, gave up 7. Against San Francisco, gave up 16. And against Atlanta, gave up 11. Okay. Does that look great for Matt Stafford in the not red hot Rams? No. But the Rams need to absolutely decimate Jacksonville this week to prove that they are still a playoff contender in the NFC West and that they are still a Super Bowl caliber team. So look for Matt Stafford to have another good week. Last week he did good. The previous 2 weeks were kind of down. So if you are questionable about starting Matt Stafford, start him. All right, let's go ahead and hit my next guy. My start of the week for running back is Elijah Mitchell. He's playing against Seattle, guys. They have been absolutely horrible against the run. I'm talking they're averaging like 28 points per week to the running back position, guys. That is freaking horrible, okay? Elijah Mitchell has averaged 17.2 points in the last 5 games on 21 touches per game. The kid is insane. Start him every week right now, okay, as long as he's healthy. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next one.
Yeah, I don't think Mason's going to make that same sit decision that he did last week at Elijah Mitchell.
I will not.
Getting into the receiver, it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins for us. We know he's coming off a 4-game, hiatus, with 3 of them being the actual injury for the hamstring and the other one being the bye week last week. With his chances of coming back, he goes up against a very poor Chicago secondary. They have one corner, and that's Jalen Johnson. We did just switch up and took out Kendall Vildor for Artie Burns. That seemed to help us a little bit. We signed another guy in free agency, brought him in from a practice squad. But this is a secondary that you can throw all over. And if Kyler Murray's back as well, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be an absolute stud.
Yeah, and let's move right into tight end after DeAndre Hopkins. And, we could go with any easy guy like, you get Rob Gronkowski. He's playing against Atlanta. But we're not going to do that because everyone's starting Rob Gronkowski against Atlanta. You know how obvious that is? We're going to go with somebody that's not as on everybody's radar, and that is Logan Thomas. He came off of injury last week, and he got 6 targets on 23 routes. He has a very high ceiling for that Washington offense, and he's been an integral part of it for the last couple years. And he is playing against Las Vegas, whose defense has been pretty bad against the tight end. I believe they are 23rd in the NFL against the tight end position. So look to start Logan Thomas. We're going to move straight into the defense that you should start of the week. We're between a couple. We decided on Miami. They are playing the New York Giants. And here's my explanation on why you're going to start Miami's defense this week. Danny Dimes. Okay, that's a pretty good reason.
Ow, my neck.
Saquon Barkley's been bad. Pretty good reason.
Ow, my whole body.
No receivers are healthy on that team at all. Ow, what, Mason? Ow, everything.
Ow, everything. Ow, Kenny Galladay, my hamstring. Ow, Kadarius Toney. I don't know. All of it.
You got Evan
Gotta
Ingram.
censor myself a little.
Yeah, Evan Ingram. Yikes. And then they just fired Jason Garrett, and they don't have an offensive coordinator anymore. So, yeah, Miami's defense, pretty easy one. We're going to move straight into the sits of the week, though, that we have. We got Russell Wilson at the quarterback position. Again, just like Miami's defense for starting this week, I don't think there's very much explanation needed. He has been absolutely horrendous since he's come back. He only had 19 fantasy points against Washington, who was the 30th ranked defense in the NFL against anything in the air. That is awful. He has been awful since he has been playing again. Do not start him until he is trustworthy once more. He is playing San Francisco, by the way, this week, and San Francisco has been red hot, and I don't trust anything against that defense right now. And then moving on to the sit position at the running back, we have Damian Harris. I know that every team in fantasy this year has been very low, very lacking on the running back position. But trust me here when I say Damian Harris, man, like he's a great talent, but he's playing Buffalo, and everybody knows how good that defense is against the run. And not to mention, he's only averaged 12 touches the last 3 games because of Ramondre Stevenson vulturing him from him. And he's been very touchdown dependent. Without his touchdowns, he wouldn't have been going over 10 fantasy points these last few games. So I think Damian Harris is an easy sit candidate this week. But, I mean, if you're really hurting on running back, you might as well play him. But I just don't trust him this week.
No, Stone, I couldn't agree more with that. I'm going to move right into my wide receiver sit of the week. It's going to mirror our quarterback sit. DK Metcalf, guys. Since Russ's return, his stat line has been 5.6, 7.1, and 2.3 fantasy points per game. He is the new Tyler Headache. I believe Tyler Lockett will kind of take over as the season kind of progresses. That whole offense is a mess right now. They should have traded Russell Wilson, whatever. No big deal. You cannot trust DK Metcalf right now, especially since San Francisco is playing hot. I'm going to go ahead and sit DK Metcalf this week. Let's go ahead and move on, though. No, don't start DK.
Jumping into the tight end position, this is going to mirror my regrettables pick last week or earlier this week, and that's Kyle Pitts. It's time. I already talked about it earlier this week. As an owner, I've wasted too much on the hope that he was going to take over and he was going to be the focal point of this offense. Clearly, he's not for whatever reason. Not to say he's a lost cause as a rookie, but he's only had 14 catches in the last 6 games. He's averaging 2.3 catches. That doesn't merit anybody to play in fantasy whatsoever. So I think a lot of people, the only reason Kyle Pitts is still even in question is because of his name and being drafted 4th overall. But yeah, so I'm definitely sitting him this week. I'm going to find somebody else to play, regardless of whether it's a good matchup, bad matchup, and I just have to take somebody off of waivers. But getting into this defense, it kind of picks up right where Stone was talking about Damian Harris being touchdown dependent. This team's just on fire, and I'm going against Buffalo. I think Mac Jones is going to be able to kind of carve this defense up. They've been giving up points recently. This is kind of a hot take, as what Mason would say, only because Buffalo has scored, I think, 14, 16, and 18 fantasy points 3 out of the last 4 weeks. And you're probably thinking, well, why would you sit them if that's the case? They just lost Tre'Davious White to a torn ACL for the season. I think that's a huge blow confidence-wise for this team. They still have some great players and talent, don't get me wrong. But I just think Mac Jones and the Patriots are on fire right now. I'm not going to bet against them. They're 8-4. They have a 1-game lead in the division going into this rivalry game. So I did the same thing Mason said. I'm starting Buffalo. I'm going to sit Buffalo this week with hopefully it doesn't come back to burn me, but I just don't see Buffalo being able to stop this freight train is what Mac Jones has got the Patriots on.
Listen, if I could throw something in real quick, we've seen Josh Allen have some pretty poor games. That means Bill Belichick has all the blueprints on how obviously Bill Belichick knows his stuff. But, I mean, teams have stopped Josh Allen this year. Bill Belichick's going to have a chance to do the same thing. And that means, I don't know, Buffalo's I think they're going to struggle. And I think the Patriots can score. That's just my little tidbit to add in.
It could be the same way, too, though. I think both teams could be a not start this week for defense because Josh Allen could go out there and do really well as well. So New England's defense could be a sit candidate as well. But that would be our starts and sits of the week, guys. If you don't agree with any of them, let us know in the comments. So your starts and sits of the week would be. We had a few other names on here that we definitely considered. We had Minnesota for defense. That was definitely in heavy consideration for a start. But anything you guys got, let us know. Like Mason said, like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below. Like I just said, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our content, so you can come back and see more of our advice every single week, each week in and out. But I'm gonna give things over to MD Reed 14 over here, and he is gonna get us out of here.
Fantasy Few out, baby. Let's go.